Part 1. The Arrival. I never believed houses could watch people, until I moved into the one on Wrenhill Lane. It was never supposed to be permanent. Just a temporary rental after my breakup, a place to clear my head, save money, and pretend I wasn't falling apart. The listing described it as a quiet suburban home with character, which I should have known was real estate code for old, slightly unsettling, and probably hiding problems. But at the time, the photos looked warm, the price was low, and the agent talked fast enough to convince me that everything would be fine. He didn't mention the walls. Not the stains, not the texture, not the cold. And definitely not the feeling that something was living inside them. I arrived just after sunset. The sky was a bruised violet, the kind that makes everything look washed out and unreal. The house sat at the end of a narrow street, tucked behind a row of trees whose branches scraped the roof like fingers brushing a scalp. From the moment I stepped out of my car, the air felt wrong. Thick. Hushed. As if the neighborhood was holding its breath. The house looked almost normal from the outside, 2 floors, slanted roof, peeling white paint, but the windows were too dark. Not just unlit. Dark, as if something behind them was absorbing the light. Inside, the air smelled like dust and old wood. The lights flickered once before turning on, casting a jaundiced glow over the entryway. I laughed nervously, forcing myself to enjoy the quirkiness of it all. Just old wiring, I muttered. And for a moment, I actually believed it. I carried my boxes to the living room. The wallpaper was patterned with faint geometric lines, faded diamonds and ovals intertwined like a puzzle. Something about it made my skin prickle. The shapes seemed uneven, almost organic, like veins. I turned away quickly. I set up my couch, unpacked my clothes, made coffee, tried to pretend this was the fresh start I needed. But then the first noise came. A soft, dragging sound. Like fingernails running lightly along the inside of the wall beside me. I froze. The sound stopped instantly, as if it sensed my attention. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. Silence thick as syrup. I pulled away, forcing myself to breathe. Rats, I whispered. But the denial felt hollow. Rats don't move slowly, thoughtfully. Rats don't pause when you listen. And rats don't follow your footsteps. I tested it. I walked across the living room, and there it was again. Drag, and drag, and drag. Soft, measured, matching my pace with unsettling precision. I stood still. Silence. I took one step. Drag. Another. Drag. I backed away from the wall as cold shivers crawled up my arms. I tried to laugh it off, pretending I was overtired, but something deeper, something instinctual, was already screaming that this was wrong. I retreated upstairs to my bedroom, the only room that felt vaguely normal. I locked the door even though I knew it was pointless, then lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Every house settles, I reminded myself. Old pipes groan, old walls creak. Nothing supernatural exists. Nothing inside the wall is actually alive. But sometime around 2:30 a.m., the sound returned. Not from the living room this time. From directly behind my bed. A slow, deliberate scrape, like someone gently dragging the back of their hand down the other side of the wall. I sat up, heart pounding so violently it hurt. The sound stopped. I held my breath, listening. A second scrape. Slower. Closer. Following the exact length of my bed. My eyes filled with involuntary tears as adrenaline surged through my body. I swung my legs over the edge of the mattress and backed away, never taking my eyes off the wall. Then something happened that shattered any logical explanation. The wall pulsed. Just once. A subtle movement beneath the wallpaper, like a slow inhale. For one horrifying moment, the geometric patterns stretched outward, warping, bending, rising, as if something beneath the surface was shifting against it. I staggered back, nearly tripping over my own feet. The wall settled. Still again. Innocent looking. I wanted to run, but I was paralyzed. Every hair on my body stood on end. I whispered to myself, "You're imagining it. You're half asleep. It's stress." But when I stepped closer, just to prove to myself that I wasn't losing it, I noticed something I hadn't before. There were small circular marks on the wallpaper. Faint, but unmistakably deliberate. Arranged in pairs. Like eyes. Dozens of them, scattered across the wall. Blinking shapes hidden in the pattern. My stomach dropped. Because now I understood the truth. The house didn't have character. It had a face. And it was looking at me. Part 2. The thing in the walls. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat in the far corner of the room with the lights on, knees pulled up to my chest like a frightened child, watching the wall as if it might tear open at any moment. It didn't move again. It didn't make another sound. But somehow, that was worse. Because now I knew whatever lived inside it was aware of me, and waiting. When dawn finally broke, pale and watery through the curtains, I packed a bag and left the house without even brushing my teeth. I drove to a local diner, the first public place I could find, and sat in a booth trembling over a cup of burnt coffee. Every so often I would catch the waitress giving me a concerned look, but what could I say? "Excuse me, I think something is breathing behind my bedroom wall." They'd escort me out or call someone in a white coat. So I said nothing. I just waited for the caffeine to steady my nerves, then forced myself to return to the house. I don't know why. Normal people would have left. Normal people would have called someone. But something about the house, its stillness, its darkness, I felt unfinished. Like it had shown me only the beginning. I unlocked the front door slowly. The air inside was cold, stale, and strangely humid, as if the house had been holding its breath while I was gone. The first thing I noticed was the wallpaper. The shapes, those faint geometric lines, looked slightly different in the morning light. The eyes seemed subtler now, harder to see. Like they had flattened themselves out, blending back into the design. I stepped closer. The wall was dry. Cool. Still. For a moment, I almost convinced myself I'd imagined everything. Then the kitchen faucet turned on by itself. A sharp squeal of pipes, followed by a steady stream of water hitting the sink. I flinched violently. This wasn't settling. This wasn't rats. This was intentional. I approached the kitchen slowly. The faucet was running at full force, steaming slightly in the cold air. I reached out and grabbed the handle. And immediately snatched my hand back. The metal was warm. Not warm like hot water. Warm like skin. A chill crawled down my back. I shut the faucet off using a dish towel, then took several steps away from the sink, breathing hard. I needed answers. Or at least a witness to confirm I wasn't losing my mind. So I called the landlord. The landlord. He was a short, round man with thinning hair and a nervous smile that looked permanently glued in place. His name was Harold, and he'd always seemed friendly enough, overly friendly, actually. Too eager to make sure I was settling in. He arrived barely 15 minutes after I called, which was odd. No landlord in history responds that fast. But he showed up at the door already sweating, wringing his hands together. "Something wrong?" he asked, peering past me into the house as if expecting to see something. "Yeah," I said. "I'm hearing noises inside the walls. Scraping. Dragging. And the faucet just turned on by itself." Harold swallowed hard. He stepped inside quickly, closing the door behind him. Then he said something strange. "Which wall?" I blinked. "Which wall?" He nodded urgently. "You said you heard something." "Where?" The living room, I said slowly. And upstairs. My bedroom. He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, something in his expression had changed. Tightened. I'll check the crawl space, he said. Just stay here. Before I could respond, he disappeared into the hallway, moving faster than any overweight man should logically be able to move. I stood frozen, listening. For a while, there was only silence. Then a muffled voice, Harold's, echoed from somewhere behind the walls. But he wasn't talking to me. He was whispering. Rapid, frantic, desperate whispering. At first I thought maybe he was on the phone. Until I heard the second voice. A wet, low, bubbling sound. Barely a voice at all. My whole body turned to ice. I stepped backward, inch by inch, toward the front door. Then the wall beside me vibrated. Just a small shudder, but enough to rattle a picture frame hanging nearby. I stared at the wallpaper, heart pounding. Something was moving beneath it. Not like before, but this movement was faster, more aggressive. Then came the sound. Not scraping. Not dragging. Knocking. 3 slow, deliberate knocks from inside the wall, inches from my face. I ran. I didn't even bother grabbing my keys. I threw the front door open and sprinted into the street, breathing so hard my chest felt like it might tear open. I didn't stop until I was halfway down the block. When I finally turned around, the house was still. Quiet. Harmless looking. But the front door was closed. Harold had shut it behind me. And he hadn't come out. The search for answers. I couldn't go back. Not yet. But I couldn't just leave him inside either, not after hearing that thing whispering back. So I went to the library. It felt ridiculous, like something out of a bad horror movie. But I didn't know where else to go, and the house was old enough that maybe someone had written something about it. An article. A police record. A rumor. It didn't take long. The house on Wren Hill Lane had a history, a dark one. 5 tenants in the past 20 years. 3 moved out without warning, abandoning all their furniture and deposits. 1 disappeared entirely. And the last, an elderly man, was found dead in the crawl space behind the kitchen wall. The cause of death was listed as a heart attack. But the condition of his body. No animals had touched him. No insects. Nothing. As if all the life had been drained from him, leaving only an empty husk. My hands trembled as I closed the book. Whatever was in that house. It wasn't new. And it wasn't done with me. Part 3, What the House Wants. I left the library with my pulse hammering in my ears. Every instinct told me to get in my car, drive as far away as possible, and never look back. But something heavier than fear was pulling me back toward Wren Hill Lane. A sickening mix of obligation and curiosity. I couldn't leave Harold inside. Not after hearing that voice. Not after learning what happened to the previous tenants. And deep down, I knew something else. It wasn't finished with me. Not by a long shot. The return. I parked 2 houses down and approached on foot. The sky hung low and grey, thick with the weight of an oncoming storm. The air was eerily still, as if even the wind avoided this place. My house looked different now. Not physically, but spiritually. It had a presence, like a sleeping animal waiting for me to step close enough to bite. I crept up the front steps. The doorknob was cold. Too cold, like metal left in the freezer. I pushed the door open slowly. The house breathed out a stale draft, cold and damp like the air inside an old cellar. The shadows seemed longer now, stretching unnaturally across the floor as if reaching for me. Harold? I called. Silence. I stepped inside. The living room looked normal, meaning wrong in a way I could no longer explain. My eyes scanned the walls automatically, searching for any sign of movement beneath the wallpaper. Nothing. But the feeling of being watched swallowed the room. I moved cautiously toward the kitchen. That's where I heard it. A soft, rhythmic tapping. Not frantic. Not threatening. Just impatient. Measured. Like someone drumming their fingers on a desk. As I got closer, the tapping resolved into something clearer, a pattern. 3 taps. A pause. 2 taps. Another pause. 3 taps again. A code. Or a message. The sound was coming from the crawl space door under the counter. And then, from behind the door, a voice. Help, me. My entire body locked up. It was Harold's voice. Weak. Strained. Barely there. I dropped to my knees and pressed my ear to the door. Harold? Can you hear me? A faint, wet cough. Something scraping weakly against wood. Please, he whispered. Don't open it. I leaned back in confusion, heart thundering. What? Why not? His voice quivered, terrified. It's awake. Something thudded against the crawl space door from the inside. Not a hand. Not a fist. Something soft. Heavy. Dragging. I stumbled back until my spine hit the refrigerator. Another thud. Then a long, wet dragging sound, like skin sliding across wood. Harold's voice broke into a desperate whisper. It knows you're here. Then the whisper cut off with a squelched gasp, as if he'd been yanked backward. A silence swallowed the house. Not an ordinary silence, this one felt alive. I forced myself to stand. I should have run. Any sane person would have sprinted out the front door. But the house wasn't letting me go. Because slowly, almost tenderly, the kitchen wall beside me began to bulge. The wallpaper swelled outward, stretching like something was pressing against it from the inside. The geometric pattern walked grotesquely around the protrusion. Something enormous was moving inside the wall. My breath caught in my throat. A shape pushed forward, round, smooth, glistening beneath the paper. An eye. Too large. Too human. It blinked. The wallpaper stretched with the movement like thin skin. I backed up so fast I knocked over a chair, crashing to the floor. The eye followed me, tracking my movement with slow, predatory calm. Then something even worse happened. The wall smiled. Not fully, not like a mouth opening. But the wallpaper wrinkled along a curved line beneath the eye, folding and creasing in a way that perfectly mimicked the beginning of a grin. I scrambled to my feet and bolted toward the stairs. Behind me, the eye sank back into the wall with a wet slither. The room with the scratches. I ran to my bedroom, stupidly, instinctively, as if a flimsy door could protect me from a creature that could move through walls like water. I slammed the door shut and threw my weight against it. The room felt smaller now. Darker. The air vibrated faintly, buzzing like a swarm of invisible insects. I turned around and froze. The wallpaper, the one with the faint geometric pattern, was different. The shapes weren't subtle anymore. They weren't shapes at all. They were carvings. Deep scratches in the wall, dozens of them, layered and frantic. Words. I stepped closer, eyes widening. The scratches formed sentences, ugly, desperate messages gouged into the wall by shaking hands. Don't sleep. Don't listen to it. Don't let it touch you. IT can learn you. IT can open you. And at the bottom of the wall, carved so deep the plaster had cracked. IT is not alone. My breath stuttered. Not alone. Not one creature. More than one. As the realization sank in, I heard something behind the wall, soft, rapid pattering.